goal is not him. I'm going to see fifth senior sister. Kai Ham Swang looked puzzled. What's the point of meeting that person who betrayed his master? So Min immediately replied. I feel that fifth senior sister seems to have a hard time saying something. That's right, seventh senior sister. Do you know why fifth senior sister's eyes can't see? Hearing this, Kai Ham Swang was startled. What did you say? She can't see anymore? Then Kai Ham Swang began to recount. Before, I only knew that she was in the royal family, betrayed the orders of the seven saints, and helped outsiders. As for the rest, I don't know. What's more, she already broke off relations with us. So Min frowned and thought thoughtfully. It seems that fifth senior sister's hidden feelings are definitely related to her eyes. Kai Ham Swang interrupted and announced important news. Let's put this matter aside first. Third young master Vang Zan has already come to the Vang family to ask for her hand in marriage. I want to make the Vu family waver, afraid that I will have to leave. A little early, So Min calmly replied. Calmly observe. The head of the Vang family has not personally come forward in this matter. The Vu family cannot help but be angry. Meanwhile at Vu Jia, Old Master Vu politely invited Vang Truan. Miss Vang, this is the living room of my Vu family. The homeowner has been waiting there for a long time. Looking at the Vu family's living room, Vang Truan looked disdainful. The living room is really too stingy. The Vu family is also very frugal. Elder Vu's face was a bit uncomfortable and he replied. Indeed, my Vu family lives frugally, not lavishly, but King Truan still refused to give up. She continued to attack. When it comes to luxury, there must also be capital for that luxury. When the Vu family's family saw her attitude, they were also annoyed, whispering to each other. It's really too much to oppress people. How can there be any resemblance to courtship? That arrogant look is familiar, come on. My Vu family still dares to be so arrogant. Vu Truyan Tri then appeared, cleared his throat and shouted. Everyone shut up! He sat down and smiled and invited. Sister Wang, welcome to visit. Please sit down. Let's discuss the marriage of your nephew and my daughter. Vang Truan flashed a smile pretending to be friendly and said. There's no need to sit. I'm here to announce the event time. Our king has already decided. A week later is good to celebrate the wedding. After making the announcement, she turned around and said. The word has been delivered. I'll go home now. Du Qin Fang stood up and said. Second family head Vang, marriage is a big event between the two families. How can you make such a unilateral decision? Vang Truan turned his head, looked with disdain in his eyes and asked. I thought it was someone else, but it turned out to be Mr. Du. Have you really broken through the Truchi realm now? Du Qin Fang responded. The matter at hand has nothing to do with the realm of martial arts. Vang Truan's eyes began to radiate murderous aura, staring at Du Qin Fang. Then she quickly rushed forward and strangled him. The Vu family quickly shouted. Quickly let him go. What do you want to do? Vang Truan pulled Du Qin Fang close to him and threatened. My royal family only has Tri Vu as his only grandson. Marrying a daughter of your Vu family already elevates you a lot. Having finished speaking, she threw Du Qin Fang away and warned. This matter has been decided. If you keep complaining, don't blame me for being rude. Having finished speaking, she slammed the door and left. Vu Laojia quickly helped Du Qin Fang up and asked. Are you okay? Du Qin Fang waved his hand to reassure. I'm fine, I just didn't expect this woman to actually dare to show off her power here, he added loudly. This king doesn't put us in his eyes at all. I'm afraid that in the future, if we marry Vu Lam Lam there, it won't be of any use to increase the power of the Vu family. Only then did Vanda speak. Brother Du, you said it wrong. He pointed his finger and affirmed. No matter what, as long as we grasp the Vang family, my Vu family can definitely expand its power. Hearing these words, Du Qin Fang could not hide his anger and shouted. Shut up, Du Vanda! You are the one who eats apple trees and fences with fig trees. Vanda also angrily shouted back. I'm just doing it for the Vu family. Would it be better to let Vu Lam Lam marry that poor guy Somin? At this time, Vu Truyan Tri loudly said. Enough. Next to him, old Jia Vu asked. The story. What do you think should be done about this matter? Vu Truyan Tri remained silent, not knowing how to answer. Then he spoke. Just do as the king says. He closed his eyes and decided. 1 week later, Vu Lam Lam will be released. Hearing this decision, the Vu family members whispered. Homeowner, this is the decision to cling to the Vang family. Vu Lam Lam is his biological daughter. She has not been married yet and has been oppressed. Raped like that. If it was like before, how could my Vu family be so upset? A moment later, a female servant reported what had happened to Vu Lam Lam. She added. That's what happened in the living room. Miss, you should look a little wider. Vu Lam Lam still kept a calm expression and replied. I know. You go. Looking in the mirror, Vu Lam Lam calmly thought. The Vang family is really too exaggerated. The Vu family's people are also dissatisfied with them. So Min is not wrong. If you wait quietly, you will definitely find an opportunity. At this time, So Min was lying with his hands on his forehead, thinking, What tricks did the prince use to deceive fifth senior sister for so many years? Suddenly, his phone rang. So-min sat up and answered the call. On the other end of the line, Vu Lam Lam quickly announced, "Today the prince has come to the wedding table, exactly as he predicted." So-min immediately reassured. "I know. I will quickly think of a way." At this time, Nam Lin also came to the house at Kai Ham Swang's invitation. Nam Lin asked, "Why did you rush to call me here? Is something wrong?" Kai Ham Swang gently replied. So-min went to see fifth senior sister. Nam Lin was extremely worried when he heard that. He went to meet him alone? He wasn't injured, right? That's the royal family. Kai Ham Swang took a sip of tea and said, "Just slightly injured. It's okay." He brought back news that neither you nor I know. Kai Ham Swang's voice became serious. She said, "Fifth senior sister, she can't see." Hearing this information, Nam Lin was startled and frightened. She quickly asked again, "Can't see? Who did that?" Kai Ham Swang immediately replied, "I don't know. But So-min guessed that fifth senior sister betrayed the teacher and helped outsiders, perhaps with hidden feelings." Nam Lin immediately clenched her fist and said, "Now I will go to the Van family. I want to face and ask clearly." Kai Ham Swang stood up to stop. "Aren't you going to die now? How could the prince easily let you meet her?" Nam Lin turned around and asked angrily. "So what should we do? We can only wait. Wait a few more decades. Then wait until the royal family is dead, then we can go find her." Suddenly So-min came out and said, "Can't wait that long. I have a way." Without waiting for the two sisters to ask, So-min immediately stated his plan. "Now, if we only join forces with the Vu family, we will not be able to overthrow the Van family. But in Jiangtan there is still another force. We can find them to cooperate." Nam Lin immediately asked, "Who?" So-min took out his phone, pointed to the information online and replied, "That is the number one family, the famous but not real Taemon family." Kai Ham Swang immediately looked worried. "It's useless. The current head of the Taemon family can no longer practice martial arts. There is no one strong in the family either. They are now just barely maintaining their status. The only person who can be relied on is old homeowner Duoy." So-min immediately reassured. "It's okay. Today the Van family came to the Vu family to discuss the wedding date. Very extravagant. I heard that Vu Lam Lam said that many people in her family are dissatisfied with the Van family. Weak. A buffalo is better than a healthy cow. If we can contact the Shimin family, we still have a chance to win." Nam Lin immediately nodded. Kai Ham Swang also agreed and said, "Okay, then let's go with you." The next morning, Kai Ham Swang drove So-min and Nam Lin to the Taemon family. While driving, Kai Ham Swang reminded, "If you want to gain the support of the Taemon family, you must exchange your heart and soul with them. Relying on just one mouth won't work." So-min replied with a serious face. "Senior sister, don't worry, I have a plan." A long time later, they arrived in front of the Shimin family gate. A security guard immediately approached to stop. "This is private land. Stopping is prohibited." So-min stuck his head out to say hello and said, "Please let me know. So-min is here to visit." This guard immediately looked disdainful. "So-min? Never heard of it. Zhang Chao also doesn't have any wealthy people named so. Are some scammers coming to trick the old man?" Kai Ham Swang got out of the car, smiled friendly and said, "Little brother, we are here to discuss business. I am the CEO of HSL Company. There is a big business that I want to cooperate with you. Your master." Kai Ham Swang flashed an enchanting smile, making the guard blush and tremble. She continued, "It's been hard for you. Give me an hour's notice." "This method certainly works." The security guard immediately said. Okay. In the car, Nam Lin laughed and teased So-min. "Beauty's plan seems to be better than reporting your name?" So-min immediately clarified. "My name is not something that some stupid people can know." At this time, inside, the head of the Taemon family, Taemon Dang, was leisurely fishing. Suddenly the lake moved. The butler immediately called out, "Homeowner, there's a fish biting the bait." But Shimin Dang doesn't seem to care. He seemed to be sitting and thinking about something. Then he got bored and pulled the fish out. Suddenly the security guard ran in and announced, "Homeowner, there is a CEO of HSL Company outside who wants to see you." Taemon Dang immediately turned around and asked, "Who?" The security guard immediately bowed his head and reported back, "CEO of HSL Company." Shimin Dang doesn't seem to care. He turned around and refused, ordering him not to meet. Before the guard left, Shimin Dang asked further, "Is she the only one? Are there others?" The guard was asked that and immediately thought to himself, who knows where the dog and cat came from? He scratched his cheek and replied, "There is also someone named So-min." Hearing the name So-min, Taemon Dang jumped up and shouted an order. "So-min? Please come in here." The guard immediately bowed his head and obeyed. He felt confused in his heart. What's going on? Why did the homeowner react so violently when he heard So-min's name? Shimin Dang then immediately turned around and ordered the butler, "Quickly go to the living room to prepare the best tea and cakes. There are distinguished guests visiting. The guard who went out immediately changed his attitude towards So-min. He used a flattering tone. The homeowner invited Mr. So to come in. He is in the living room waiting for you. This attitude of the guard made both So-min and Nam-lin dumbfounded. Kai-ham Swang smiled and said to Nam-lin, "Senior sister, you think wrong. Our CEO of HSL is nothing. The talented people who destroyed the Truong family, the Tran family, are truly honored guests." So the three followed the guard into the Shimin house. The guard opened the door and respectfully invited, "You three, please come in." Inside, Taemon-dang saw So-min and bowed respectfully. "Mr. So, we finally meet." He slowly approached and greeted friendly. "Young hero." His eyes became bright. He excitedly shook So-min's hand and admired. "I know all about your history in Zhangchao. Quickly sit down." Seeing the enthusiasm of the Taemon homeowner, So-min felt a bit unfamiliar. He asked in a friendly manner, "Are you the head of the Shimin family?" The owner of the Taemon family immediately replied, "Yes. You and I are both smart people, we don't beat around the bush." He then went straight to the point that So-min was also thinking. "I know you guys came here this time hoping that we can help you deal with the prince, right?" Seeing that Taemon-dang had not said anything, he understood. Kai-ham Swang frowned and thought, this Taemon homeowner does not seem to be as incompetent as rumored. So-min patted his chest and replied, "That's right. I hope the Taemon family can help us." Shimin-dang nodded. "Of course you can. The royal family is arrogant and autocratic, and has done many evil things in Zhangchao. I soon won't be able to see it anymore." He stirred the teacup and continued. "But the Shimin family has been humble for many years. It's not so simple to take action now," So-min quickly said. "We came here to discuss conditions. If the owner of the Taemon family wants the property of the royal family," not letting So-min finish, Taemon-dang interrupted. "Mr. So has misunderstood. Although the royal family's assets are large, they still cannot reach our eyes." He frowned and suggested, "I hope you can become a martial arts instructor for me." Nam-lin immediately stood up and protested. "How is this possible? We came to discuss cooperation, not to sell ourselves." Taemon-dang smiled and explained. "It's too harsh. So-min only needs help from the Taemon family at an important moment. Normally, when we teach my Taemon disciples, we respect them." Kai-ham Swang immediately asked again, "Are you worried that after we overthrow the Vong family, you will join forces with the Vu family to attack the Taemon family?" Shimin-dang did not deny it. He replied, "That's not wrong. Isn't this a concern about whitening the cow's teeth?" Kai-ham Swang smiled and continued, "But the martial arts master of the Taemon family is so good. Even if the Vu family had that thought, in my opinion it would not be successful." Hearing Kai-ham Swang say that, Taemon-dang secretly thought, the words are the same, but his father's body is no longer the same as that year. I have to make plans for the Shimin family in the future. He turned to So-min and proposed, "If Mr. So agrees to this condition, the Taemon family will do our best to support." So-min immediately spoke up to explain. "This time I came to Zhangchao to establish a sect. If I value So, I will of course not refuse him to introduce his disciples. But we will treat them equally. Equal to everyone, there is no way to become the exclusive hawk of the Shimin family." He also affirmed, "If the Taemon family has difficulties in the future, I will not sit idly by." Hearing So-min say that, Taemon-dang looked puzzled. "The founding sect? Aren't you the assistant that the Vu family invited?" So-min shook his head. "Of course not." Hearing that, Shimin-dang was even more confused. "So why did you help the Vu family destroy the Truong and Tran families?" So-min immediately explained, "Everything has a reason. The Truong family bullied my 7th sister. The Tran family wants to kill me and 6th sister. The Vu family and I have a good relationship, so we gave the assets of the Truong and Tran families to them." After hearing this, Shimin-dang seemed dumbfounded. He said, "So those 2 boats pushing the water are also really big, huh?" Nam-lin frowned and asked again, "Does the head of the Taemon family think we are mercenaries invited by the Vu family?" After understanding, Taemon-dang immediately waved his hand and denied. "Misunderstanding, misunderstanding. If Mr. So-min wants to establish a sect in Zhangchao, then the Taemon family will definitely support it with all its strength." Seeing the expression on the head of Taemon family like that, So-min continued to ask, "So what about overthrowing the Vong family this time?" Taemon-dang immediately turned into a different person. He stood up and asserted, "Your Majesty is becoming more and more flamboyant. In the long run, it will of course become a threat to the Taemon family. I agree to help Mr. So," So-min happily replied. "Okay. Thanks to you then." Taemon-dang immediately approached and shook hands with So-min. He winked and confirmed that the transaction had been completed. Suddenly a voice rang out. "Wait a minute." An old man and a young man entered. These 2 people are Shimin-dang's father and son. The old man spoke up. "This little friend wants to drag my Shimin family into the water. I'm afraid it won't be that easy." Shimin-dang immediately clarified. "Dad, you heard me." Old Master Shimin immediately shouted at his son. "Shut up! The king has been calling rain and wind all these years. His ambition is immense. Do you think it's that easy to deal with? They have 2 people in the Qihai realm. Reckless actions will destroy the entire Shimin family. He then turned to warn So-min. Kid, don't think of us as idiots. At a young age, we don't know how high the sky is and how thick the earth is. The true air realm and the sea air realm are separate from heaven and earth. You think that true air realm is your great perfection really their opponent? Hearing that, So-min immediately thought to himself. It seems they don't know that they have broken through the Qihai realm in Namkwang, he politely said to Mr. Shimin. The master of the sect seems to still doubt my strength, he seriously asked the old man again. Dare to ask, what must it take for you to believe that I have enough strength to defeat the royal family? Old Master Taeman immediately replied. This old man is old, but he is still at the peak of the Qihai realm. If you can defeat me, the Taeman family will recognize your strength to destroy the royal family. Hearing that, Nam Lin was startled. She thought to herself, the peak of Qihai can. No wonder he could secretly stay in Zhangchao for so long. I am afraid that even the masters of martial arts sects cannot match this strength. At this time, Shimin Dang also added. That's right. The story of Liu Friend So-min destroying the Truong and Tran families. Although extraordinary, the Vong family still has 2 people in the ocean. If it cannot be said, we will not be able to attack easily if we subdue Taeman with our strength. So-min immediately agreed. Okay. Then please ask the head of the Taeman family to give further instructions. So everyone went out to the yard to watch So-min and old Master Taeman compete. So-min apologized first. Homeowner Taeman, if you accidentally offend, I hope to forgive you. Old Master Shimin smiled and replied. This brat, if I let you practice for another 20 years, I won't be your opponent. But you still can't do it now. So-min smiled when he saw the old Taeman homeowner looking down on him. He mobilized his true energy, created a circle and said, if the old homeowner can knock me out of this circle, he will be considered the winner. Master Shimin was provoked and frowned. Very bold. Immediately he mobilized his true energy and rushed to So-min, saying, then you will definitely lose. So-min smiled smugly and retreated into a defensive position. Master Taeman's powerful punch was easily blocked by So-min. He was extremely surprised and exclaimed, huh! So-min still calmly looked at old Master Taeman and smiled. On the opposite side, old Master Taeman began to get serious. He said, if you have some strength, then this old man must be serious. Seeing his grandfather's strength, young Master Taeman immediately admired. Grandpa is so powerful, Shimin Dang immediately said. Of course. If it wasn't so powerful, how could he have kept this inheritance that year? Old Master Shimin began to use all his true energy. He warned So-min. Be careful. So-min did not flinch. He also used a lot of his true energy to respond. Come on. Both of them unleashed their ultimate power to fight. The true energy of both radiates, brightening up the entire area. Master Shimin was exhausted at this time. He then exclaimed in surprise. You are not from the true air realm but from the sea air realm. Looking at the young man in front of him, Mr. Shimin could not believe his eyes. He exclaimed, how is this possible? How could someone reach the RC stage at such a young age? Knowing that he had already crowed about this bet, old man Taeman took back his true energy and said, forget it. Old man has lost. This surprised his children and grandchildren. What? Dad has already admitted defeat? Although So-min won, he was not arrogant. He respectfully thanked. Thank you for being lenient. If it weren't for the homeowner's advanced age, I wouldn't be your opponent. Suddenly realizing something, So-min asked. Moreover, you seem to be sick. Hearing this, the head of the Taeman family was startled and asked. How do you know? So-min bowed his head and explained. I understand a little about medical techniques. If the old homeowner doesn't mind, can I check your pulse? Old Master Taeman immediately agreed and extended his hand to So-min. So-min grabbed his hand and checked his pulse. Looking at So-min attentively checking his pulse, old man Taeman thought to himself, this boy's martial arts are extraordinary. He is the person that the Taeman family can never compete with. After checking his pulse, So-min exclaimed in surprise. Old homeowner, who are you? Old Master Shimin immediately interrupted. My body, I have my own plans in my heart. There's no need to say it directly, So-min seriously reminded. The pulse shows that you only have 3 months of life left. Hearing that, old man Taeman's face turned pale. Young Master Taeman immediately ran over and said, you're lying. Shimin Dang also added. Mr. So, my father's body is really not good, but he can't only live for 3 months. But old Master Taeman raised his hand to signal his children to be quiet. He asked again. You realized it? Hearing old Master Shimin's confession, both Shimin Dang and young Master Shimin were shocked. Grandpa, what are you talking about? Are you kidding? Old Master Shimin stroked his beard and calmly told the truth. The martial arts has reached my level, and I have long understood my lifespan. The blood vessels are clogged, the blood is not enough, the true energy is not enough. Already unable to circulate throughout the body, 3 months is already the limit for this old man, young Master Taemon exclaimed. How is this possible? I don't believe it. Shimin Ting also suggested. Come on, Dad, let's go to the best hospital in the city. I'll find the best doctor for you. Old man Taemon laughed and refused. This is fate. Doctors can't cure it. He turned to So-min and said, Little friend So-min, your natural qualities are superior to others. You are still young and have reached the Chi-Hai realm. This time to destroy the Vong family, the Taemon family agreed to assist, So-min immediately replied. After completing this matter, I have a way to help prolong the life of the old Taemon homeowner for another 10 years. Hearing So-min's assertion, both Old Master Taemon and Taemon Dang were surprised and said in unison. How is this possible? Not long after, everyone went inside the house together. Seeing that they didn't believe it, Kai-ham Swang immediately said. You two don't need to be hasty. My younger brother said it is possible to prolong your life. They then went inside for therapy. Young Master Shimin is extremely worried about his grandfather. As for Taemon Dang, it seems that he has gradually trusted So-min. Old Master Taemon lay on the hospital bed and took off his shirt to be treated by So-min. So-min sat next to him, took out a needle and said, Old Master Taemon, you don't have blood clots or weak blood, but when you were young you went through many moments of life and death. All over your body the old wound has been cured on the outside, but the foundation has been destroyed for a long time. He stuck the needle into old Shimin's forehead and added, Although I can prolong your life, I cannot completely cure you. Shimin old man doesn't need much more. He said, If I can really prolong my life, I will be very lucky. Right now, the descendants of the Shimin family are still weak. If I live, I can still control other families. Let's take advantage of it. Time. So-min inserted another needle into his hand. He continued, That nephew of mine seems to have good roots and is also a good seed. He smiled and asked So-min, Do you agree to accept him as a disciple? At this moment, So-min forcefully stabbed another needle into his hand. Old Master Shimin was so surprised that he cried out in pain. So-min coldly replied, It's okay to accept being a disciple, but my eldest disciple already has a candidate. Old Master Taemon smiled and said, That is Lakni's unlucky fate. But being able to become Mr. So's disciple is also a good thing. At this time, So-min took out 3 more needles and advised. These 3 needles will hurt more. The old homeowner has to be patient. Hearing this, Old Master Shimin's face turned pale. So-min did not give him a chance to resist, so he immediately stabbed 3 needles into his body, making him scream in pain. Young Master Taemon, or from now on I will call him Taemon Nak. Shimin Nak was worried and tried to run back to his grandfather, but his father stopped him. Don't hinder master. Looking at So-min giving acupuncture to Old Master Taemon, Kai-ham Swang remembered that he had also received acupuncture from his junior brother and shivered. Junior Seven's acupuncture was even more painful than Master Seven's. Thinking about it now still hurts. Nam Lin has different thoughts. She remembered that when So-min held her, it felt sweet and not painful. After finishing acupuncture, So-min left the room and closed the door. Shimin Nak immediately asked, How is my grandfather? So-min immediately smiled reassuringly. The old homeowner's condition is very good. Now he just needs to rest for a few days. Having finished speaking, he went to the table to get a pen and paper and continued. I wrote another prescription. Take it 3 times a day, continuously for 27 days. Nam Lin ran over and wondered. Do you really give people a method to prolong their life? So-min immediately wrote and replied, The nature of acting against the sky is gain and loss. Although the old master of Taemon can prolong his life for another 10 years, in the 2nd year, his martial arts ability will gradually weaken. At the moment of death, all power will be lost. Nam Lin heard that and sighed. I didn't expect to have to pay such a price. If you told me to lose my martial arts skills, it would be better than dying. At that moment, old Taemon walked in and said, It's okay. With you protecting the Taemon family, I feel secure. He sighed and said, The future must still be left to the next generation. Seeing old Shimin Nak happily exclaimed, Grandpa, how are you feeling? Shimin Dang was also visibly happy to see that his father was better than before. Old Master Taemon immediately approached his grandson and ordered, Lakni, kowtow to Mr. So. Taemon Nak didn't understand what was going on, so he was startled and surprised. What? Old Taemon continued. I want you to immediately worship Mr. So as your teacher. Unexpectedly given such an order by his grandfather, Taemon Nak wondered. Why do we people of the Taemon family have to worship someone else as our master? I can learn martial arts from the Taemon family. Old Taemen shook his head in frustration and said, If martial arts doesn't have a guide, progress will be extremely slow. Grandpa is old and can't teach you anymore. This is your God-given opportunity. Don't give up, miss. So Taemon Nak suddenly turned around and frowned at So-min. Shimin Nak is a person who listens to his grandfather's words very much, so he obeyed and immediately bowed his head. Master, please accept my disciple's bow, So-min immediately replied. In the future, when I establish a sect, there will of course be a ceremony. For now, only formality is enough. He stood up after finishing writing the prescription and continued. You are my second disciple. There is also a senior sister above him. But right now I still can't reveal her identity to you. So-min then gave the prescription to the new disciple and told him. This is to prolong your grandfather's life, and the other is a medicine to cleanse your meridians. Every day you must drink it and then bathe. No interruptions. Shimanak stood up, took 2 pieces of paper and thanked So-min. Behind him, Taeman Dang happily spoke up. Mr. So has a great favor with our family. When it comes to destroying the royal family, we will definitely do our best to help, so everything is fine. Kaiham Swang, Nam Lin and So-min got back in the car to return. Kaiham Swang yawned while driving and said, I didn't expect things to go so smoothly this time. Nam Lin admired and praised. Taeman family's fish is really delicious. So-min sat behind and praised the new disciple, Taeman Nak. This child knows how to respect his grandfather, and has a very good temper. Nam Lin also added. I didn't expect that this trip to Taeman family would make me become an uncle. Kaiham Swang also spoke in. Our 7th sect has finally taken the first step to establish a sect. Suddenly Kaiham Swang asked So-min, oh right, do you remember the task I gave you? I want you to accept my first disciple, So-min happily replied. So aren't you done? Kaiham Swang happily announced, that's right. Wait until we return. Together we will open the chest that master left for you. Inside is the precious treasure of the 7 Saints sect that his master left him. So-min nodded in agreement. He wondered curiously, what did Master 7 leave behind for him? Everything was calm when suddenly a truck came from nowhere. It hit Kaiham Swang's car directly, causing a terrible accident. And yet, it continued to hit straight, pushing Kaiham Swang's car a distance. In the car, Kaiham Swang looked panicked. This car hasn't stopped yet. This is aimed at us. So-min also vaguely realized that another car was coming behind him. He quickly shouted a warning. There is a big car behind, quickly leave the car. So 2 large cars crashed together, crushing Kaiham Swang's car. The first truck driver got down and smiled triumphantly. I'm sure he's dead, right? The second truck driver also laughed loudly and responded. But he's still alive, unless he's a devil. Before he could finish laughing, he received a knee from Nam Lin. This guy fell unconscious immediately. As for the remaining guy, So-min knocked him down and stepped on his back. So-min asked seriously. Did the royal family send you here? This guy was scared and quickly admitted. Yes. Suddenly, So-min felt many footsteps coming. That's true. There were many thugs holding weapons surrounding the 3 of them. So-min looked at the sword and immediately recognized it as the king's Kim Man Dao. A guy who looked like the leader spoke up. So-min, we're here to take your head. So-min immediately laughed. I'm afraid just you guys aren't enough. Suddenly the other guy shouted an order. Drink the medicine! So those thugs from the royal family immediately put a pill of some kind into their mouths. They immediately felt abundant power. They laughed proudly. Haha, so much strength! The medicine the homeowner gave us can indeed make us several times stronger. Seeing this, Nam Lin immediately panicked and said, this is very similar to the active energy pill of our 7 Saints sect. Senior sister has really betrayed our 7 Saints sect. So-min shook his head to dismiss. No. This is not an active potency pill. I have prepared an active potency pill before. After taking it, you will not have such strong side effects. Looking at them with murderous aura, So-min continued. See, they can explode their spiritual veins at any time. This is clearly an imitation of fake medicine. Hearing that, Kaiham Swang asked curiously. What do you mean this is not the medicine that 5th senior sister gave them? So-min nodded. I'm not sure, but the prescription is top secret of our 7 Saints sect. Even if outsiders want to imitate it, it won't be that easy. On this side, the royal family's thugs pointed their swords at the 3 people and shouted loudly. Are you done yet, brothers? Let's rush forward and kill them! So the whole group rushed forward at the same time, trying to take the lives of all 3 people. So-min aggressively rushed forward and told Nam Lin. Senior Sister Luke, you protect Senior Sister 7. Leave this group of people to me. Nam Lin immediately obeyed and immediately sent away anyone who dared to come close to them. However, her blow didn't seem to make the other guy feel anything. He spit out and said, It doesn't hurt. It doesn't itch, he said to Nam Lin. I now have the power of the True Chi realm. Nam Lin heard that and immediately started to sneak. She thought to herself, I have just recovered from a serious injury. These kids have taken stimulants and are still very strong. She thought to herself that this time it wasn't good. However, she still tried to punch a few guys who were coming at her. At this time, So-min's side was describing a sudden conflict. With the body style of the Sea realm, So-min easily penetrated the enemy's defenses and passed through their bodies, giving each of them a needle in the neck. At the same time, Kaiham Swang was hanging by a thread. A man was swinging a knife from behind, trying to take her life. So-min turned around and saw that scene. He exclaimed, Not good! He quickly released a series of needles at the sneak attacker to save Kaiham Swang's life. 3 needles stabbed precisely into the back of the other man's neck. He immediately fell to the ground unconscious. Only then did Kai Ham Swang realize that he was in danger. Observing from afar, the leader gritted his teeth and thought to himself, "This brat still knows how to hide weapons. There is no benefit to him. He must take those 2 girls back as hostages. Think and do." He immediately jumped up high, causing So-min to look startled. He swung the knife to kill one person, then captured the other. The object he aimed to kill was Nam Lin. The sword was swinging down very close to Nam Lin's neck while she was busy taking down a guy. She panicked, thinking that this time she had gone to sell salt. But no. From somewhere, a knife carrying So-min's true energy flew in and stabbed straight into the other man's back. The fatal stab caused him to fall down, extremely painful. His body trembled as he received such a fatal wound. So-min used his true energy to control the sword. He said in a serious and angry voice, "You touched my senior sister." So-min's eyes were filled with anger. He threatened him. "I will kill you." At this time, the other guy began to panic when he realized that So-min could use true energy to control objects. He realized that So-min had reached the gas C stage, so he quickly ordered the remaining group to retreat. The other group immediately shouted to each other and ran away. But today they encountered a wild beast. So-min was determined not to let anyone escape. He held a few needles in his hand. He threw a series of needles at them and threatened, "None of you are allowed to leave today." The needles were accurately inserted into each man's neck, causing their bodies to become paralyzed. Kai Ham Swang and Nam Lin were also startled by So-min's anger. The Vang family's thugs, one by one, lay paralyzed on the ground, groaning. Kai Ham Swang then loudly asked So-min, "Junior brother, you have this trick. Why didn't you use it early?" So-min immediately explained, "This move is mainly a surprise attack. If there are also martial artists of the same level in this group of people, in the split second when this move is revealed, they will definitely be at a disadvantage." Kai Ham Swang immediately exclaimed in surprise, "I never thought of this." Nam Lin thought to himself, "It seems that So-min understands martial arts better than me." Approaching the leader, So-min seriously questioned, "Who gave you the medicine?" This guy did not hide and replied, "Of course he is the homeowner." So-min slowly held the sword on his back and slowly pulled it out. The leader of the thugs kept moaning in pain. So-min continued to ask seriously, "I want to ask where you homeowners got it from?" This guy was scared and quickly said, "It was prepared by Miss Lan." Hearing that, both Kai Ham Swang and Nam Lin said in unison, "It's really her." So-min still sternly forced him to tell the truth. "Tell the truth, otherwise I will make you suffer 100 times more." Threatening with words wasn't enough. So-min used force on the knife. The sword slowly penetrated deep into the leader's body, causing him extreme pain. He shouted, "Miss Lan really once prepared medicine for my family's master. What we drank was actually given to us by the family's master." He screamed and begged So-min, "Big brother, please let me go." So-min did not make things difficult for him anymore. He released him and turned towards the 2 sisters. Kai Ham Swang immediately asked, "Are you done asking?" So-min glanced and replied, "He's just a mercenary. I'm afraid he has to be a core member of the royal family to know the truth." Nam Lin immediately asked curiously, "So what should we do?" So-min looked down and replied, "If 5th senior sister really did something to betray the sect, of course it would be handled according to the sect's rules." He looked up at the sky and continued thoughtfully, "But I'm worried that she might be taken advantage of by someone else." Information about the failure of the juniors was sent to Vang Chiu Quan. The old man looked intently at the message informing him of the situation. After reading, Vang Chiu Quan thoughtfully announced, "The old horse has failed." One guy immediately stood up and shouted, "Disgusting! I have to go find that kid. This guy is the 13th treasure of Kim Daoman, Lai Fong Dao Tan Trong." Another woman sitting next to him, "Kim Daoman 13 Thai treasure single snake knife la DM, calmly replied, "It's still okay. How much stronger are you than old Ma?" Provoked, the swordsman Tan Trong pointed his finger at her and shouted, "Get out!" At this time, an old man named Kim Daoman 13 Thai Bao Hon Thursday Dao Chidon slapped the table and ordered, "Everyone shut up!" He turned to Vang Chiu Quan and said, "Homeowner, if we can train ourselves to make a real Vitluk pill, how far can we go?" Vang Chiu Quan thoughtfully asked himself, "Shouldn't it be better to take the real prescription from that woman named Lan?" Vang Chiu nodded in agreement. "That's right. If our Kim Daoman royal family has 3 more people from the Qihai realm, then our area will not only include Jiangchao City but also Duchao Province. Big brother, think of a way." Surrounded by a pile of troubles and failures, Vang Chiu Quan angrily banged on the table and shouted, "A bunch of useless people." Then he clasped his hands, turned and left. He immediately went with his subordinates to Himni's room. Looking up in the direction of her room, Vang Chiu Quan wondered. This time it was the same reason. "I wonder if it still works for Miss Lan." Seeing the head of the family coming, the female servant immediately ran out to greet. "Hello, head of the house." Vang Chiu Quan immediately asked, "Is it convenient for Miss Lan to meet me now?" The female maid happily said, "Miss is free, please." So Vang Chiu Quan frowned and entered the room. Meeting Himni, Vang Chiu Quan respectfully said, Miss Lan, Vaughn has something to ask of you. Hin Ni turned away and replied immediately. If you are asking for medicine, please don't say such polite words, Patriarch Vaughn. His expression immediately changed. He frowned and asked, Miss Lan, have you forgotten? I have saved your life, Hin Ni immediately replied. Of course I remember. She just turned the page to read and continued. But I have already repaid the king. Hot Luke Hon and Fa and Dan Quan are both secrets of my sect. If it weren't for the gratitude of saving your life, I absolutely will not take it out. Hearing this, Vang Chiu Quan gritted his teeth and looked angry. Okay. Unable to convince Hin Ni, Vang Chiu Quan had to leave and said, Vang, I know. After he left, Lan Hin Ni in the room thought to herself, on one side is the taboo sect, on the other side is the person who has the gift of saving lives. I'm at the end of my rope too. But breaking the law is also breaking the law. I am a sinner of the 7 saints. After leaving Hin Ni's room, Vang Chiu Quan immediately went to a cave under the mansion. This is the underground research room of the royal family. A royal scientist with a head very similar to a certain scientist was muttering. Strange, why don't you know the mixing ratio? Seeing Vang Chiu Quan coming, a few other researchers immediately greeted. Homeowner. Hello, homeowner. The old scholar was also startled and looked up to greet him. Hello, homeowner. He turned to ask the homeowner. Why did you come here? Vang Chiu Quan immediately asked. Has the full effect of the active force not been researched yet? The old scholar replied confusedly. Even if you follow all the ingredients like that, there is still no way to make a medicine with the same effect. Perhaps there is a problem with the container or the fire used to make the medicine. Vang Chiu Quan got angry and immediately grabbed the old scholar's collar. He lifted him up and threatened, Hurry up for me. I paid you a lot of money. The old scholar trembled in fear and replied. Yes. I will definitely finish it quickly. Having no other choice, Vang Chiu Quan had to release him with a frown on his face. Glancing at the group of researchers, Vang Chiu Quan mused. We can't use strong measures against Hin Ni. These chemical researchers are all useless. We have to think of a new way. Suddenly he had an idea when he thought of Hin Ni trying to protect So Min. Vang Chiu Quan gritted his teeth and let out a calculating smile. If I grasp her weakness, she will definitely obediently obey. Looking down at his hand, he calculated. As long as he had a large amount of active pills and a scene-breaking pill, the prince could reach the peak of the entire Duchao province. That night, at the Vu family's house, a girl's hand gently pushed the door open. That's Vu Lam Lam. She looked up and down and said to herself, There's no one. I thought my dad would send someone to watch over me. Not seeing anyone, Vu Lam Lam immediately ran to find So Min. But she did not know that her father was silently observing from above. Seeing this, Lao Jia sighed and asked, You intentionally didn't let anyone watch over it. Did you want it to go find So Min? Vu Truyan Tri immediately replied. You have to prepare both sides. Dad, there's something I don't know. Today So Min has arrived at Taiman House. Vu Lao Jia was startled and asked again. Really? Vu Truyan Min sat down and nodded in confirmation. Of course. I am a businessman. My goal is to maintain profits. If you want to win, you have to bet on both sides. Old Jia Vu saw his son like that and had to agree. You kid is stronger than my old man. It's getting increasingly late. There was suddenly a knock on So Min's door. So Min called out and asked, Who is that? Vu Lam Lam immediately replied. It's me. So Min quickly opened the door for her. He was extremely confused. You still came to find me so late. What's wrong? Vu Lam Lam immediately hugged So Min and said, The Vang family's people are here today. I hate them even more. Hurry! So Min looked puzzled. Hurry what? Vu Lam Lam immediately closed the door. She leaned closer to So Min and suggested, Let's quickly cook the rice into rice. Then she quickly took off So Min's shirt. Under such a sudden attack, So Min cried out in panic. Vu Lam Lam said with tears in his eyes. So Min, you know, I already like you. As long as we cook rice, Dad will not marry me to the royal family anymore. So Min regained his composure and grabbed Vu Lam Lam's hand, saying, Wait. He patted Vu Lam Lam's shoulder and advised. Doing that won't solve any problems, he continued. The person third young Master Vang wants to marry is not you, but the entire Vu family's power. It's useless for the two of us to cook rice now. Hearing that, Vu Lam Lam cried. So how can I escape from the royal family? Why can't I marry the person I like? Vu Lam Lam burst into tears. So Min smiled reassuringly. Don't worry. We have a plan. Hearing that, Vu Lam Lam immediately stopped crying and asked. So, did you hear what I said just now? Hearing this sentence, So Min became stunned. Vu Lam Lam confessed again. I like you? Vu Lam Lam's eyes were filled with tears. She choked up and affirmed. Did you hear clearly this time? So Min confusedly replied. Vu Lam Lam, I understand your feelings towards me. Hearing that, Vu Lam Lam excitedly waited. But So Min quickly told her to calm down and said, But right now is not the right opportunity. If we get involved with each other now, it will only give the Vang family a chance. putting you and the Vu family in a dangerous situation. Life cannot be revived. Hearing So Min's words, Vu Lam Lam gradually realized. She thought to herself, that's right. The prince has announced the marriage of the third young master and himself. If So Min were to be involved at this time, not only would the Vu family's dignity be completely destroyed, but it would also put So Min in danger. Thinking clearly, Vu Lam Lam immediately said, "What you say makes sense. I was impulsive." Seeing that Vu Lam Lam understood, So Min patted her head and said, "You can understand. Once everything stabilizes, I will definitely give you an answer." Vu Lam Lam blushed and said, "Well, then I'll go home first." Before Vu Lam Lam left, So Min also said, "That's right, help me tell Vu Lao Jia again. I want to meet him." Vu Lam Lam immediately replied, "Even though I don't know why you want to meet my grandfather, I will tell you." Watching Vu Lam Lam get in a car and leave, So Min thought to himself, understand the general situation, perceive the general situation. Truly a good girl. Suddenly remembering that he still had something to do, So Min immediately said, "That's right, I accepted that kid from the Taeman family as a disciple before. The task assigned by 7 sisters has been completed." Remembering what Kai Ham Swang said, So Min thought to herself, "The reward," she said, "tomorrow she will give me a treasure." Thinking of that, So Min was extremely excited, not knowing what it was. The next day, So Min immediately went to Kai Ham Swang's house. Nam Lin is also there. Kai Ham Swang took out a wooden box and said, "This is the treasure of the 7 saints sect that the masters asked me to give you." So Min quickly reached for the box and asked, "Can you open it now?" Suddenly Kai Ham Swang cried out, "Wait a minute." She took out a sealing talisman and said, "This is your unsealing talisman, which is also what the masters asked me to give you." "What did the master seal you with?" So Min received the talisman and replied, "All my cultivation." Nam Lin immediately nudged Kai Ham Swang's hand and said, "I have seen the true ability of my little brother. It is even more exaggerated than our imagination." She excitedly continued, "I thought that little brother's martial arts training was not too far apart from us, but after learning the truth, I realized that one of us is a cloud in the sky, the other is mud below. Land on this side." So Min excitedly opened the box and said, "Don't say more, let me see what the treasure is." When the box was opened, a bright light immediately emitted. Inside the box is a single purple pill. The 3 of them gathered their heads to look and felt confused. Just a medicinal pill? Nam Lin looked disappointed. "I am the successor of 7 masters. I also know how to refine pills. The masters are more or less a bit stingy, but Kai Ham Swang feels there must be another reason." She said, "Master's perfect plan. Giving this pill must have a reason." So Min picked up the pill to look at it and said, "That's right. This medicine is a regeneration pill." Hearing this name, Nam Lin and Kai Ham Swang immediately wondered, "Regeneration pill? What is that?" So Min immediately explained, "This is a divine pill that has long been lost. Even in the 7 Saints sect, I only have a few lines of record about it." Nam Lin was startled. "God's pill? Not so exaggerated, right?" Kai Ham Swang was also curious. "Little junior brother, do you know the weight of these 2 words? Even the 5th master, who was awarded the title of Dan Saint, still wouldn't dare say he could refine divine pills." So Min then continued to answer, "In a sex fairy tale, I saw a record with only a few words. Recreating a dark smoky purple pill can save the life of the dead." Nam Lin looked shocked. "Are you kidding?" Kai Ham Swang also expressed disbelief. "Bringing the dead back to life is a miracle in medicine. How can just one pill do it?" So Min shook his head. "I don't know either. Maybe it's true, maybe it's just an exaggerated tactic of a fairy tale." He carefully wiped the pill and said, "This pill is very precious. From now on, you must always carry it with you." Suddenly, So Min's phone rang. So Min quickly put the pill in his inner pocket and replied, "Hello, it's me." He then quickly replied, "Okay." There was an urgent matter. So Min immediately said to the 2 sisters, "I have to go out, go first." Kai Ham Swang curiously asked, "Where are you going?" So Min smiled and replied, "I made an appointment with old Master Vu. If I want to have the support of the Taeman family, I will naturally have to negotiate with the most trusted person in the Vu family." They met at a cafe on a crowded street. Vu Lao Jia tried the coffee and grimaced. "This is so bitter. Not as good as my bitch Loishian." Du Vu Lam immediately smiled and said, "Grandpa, we young people rely on this to sell our lives." Suddenly Vu Lam Lam saw So Min enter. She quickly waved and called him back. "So Min, here." So Min bowed his head and said, "Grandfather Vu Lam Lam, we have made you 2 wait for a long time." Old Master Vu immediately said, "Hurry up and try this. My old man is really not used to drinking it." So Min quickly reminded, "This is coffee. I've seen 7 sisters drink it, so I've tried it. Don't drink too much. Its medicinal properties are not suitable for the elderly." Hearing So Min's advice, plus not liking coffee, Vu Lao Jia immediately put it down and said, "If that's the case, I won't drink it anymore." Vu Lam Lam next to him frowned. This is clearly not like drinking. What's the excuse?" After So Min sat down, Old Man Du began to ask. Little friend So Min, is it urgent that you want to see me? So Min also doesn't beat around the bush. He said frankly, I have prepared a plan. During the royal wedding that day, wipe them out. Hearing that, Vu Lam Lam was startled. What did you say? Vu Lao Jia calmly stroked his beard and asked again. Such a big thing? Are you really well prepared? So Min seriously replied. If we have to say whether we are well prepared, we are really lacking a little more. Vu Lao Jia immediately drank coffee and asked, What's missing? So Min immediately said. Still lacking the support of everyone from the Vu family. Hearing this, Vu Lao Jia was so surprised that he spit out the coffee in his mouth. Vu Lam Lam quickly took a towel and told his grandfather to wipe it. Then she said to So Min, So Min, you have met my father. He is now the head of the Vu family, and is also the one planning to marry the Vong family. So Min immediately replied, I understand. But I feel that Patriarch Vu is not a rigid person who only knows how to go one way. If he really lived and died with the Vong family, then Mr. Vu would not be sitting here. Hearing that, Lao Jia wiped his mouth and smiled and said, Your kid, he's really more mature than before. Then he spoke up and said, Then let me be frank. At most we can only stand in the middle. If we help you, in case we fail, the Vu family will not be able to recover. So Min smiled and said, Grandfather Vu, is this a lack of trust in me? To make Vu Lao Jia believe, So Min continued, Having said this, I won't hide it anymore. As long as everyone agrees to help me, I will help the Vu family become the top of the whole Jiang Chao. Hearing such an attractive offer, Vu Lao Jia was startled and exclaimed. What? So Min continued. When I completely destroy the royal family, I will establish my own national sect, the Seven Saints sect. Looking at Vu Lam Lam, he continued. Vu Lam Lam will become the head disciple, and at the same time, all matters of the Seven Saints sect in Jiang Chao will be entrusted to him to manage. When Vu Lam Lam heard the name of the chief disciple, he was equally startled and surprised. She felt extremely happy as if she felt like she was with her. Old Jia Vu pondered and thought, if So Min was telling the truth, then our Vu family really doesn't need to rely on the Vong family. As long as Seven Saints sect still exists, my Vu family can stand firmly at the top of Jiang Chao that day. He calmly took a sip of coffee and said, But this is very important. We have to go back and discuss with the homeowner. So Min nodded in agreement. Then I will wait for good news from you. The wedding is only a few days away. I hope you guys make a decision soon. Add Vu Jia. Vu Lao Jia immediately returned to the meeting to inform the entire Vu family. After announcing, he said, That's exactly what happened. Vu Truyan Tri smoked and asked again. Is So Min telling the truth? Vu Lao Jia nodded. It's completely true. Du Qian Fong immediately stood up excitedly. If what the old man said is true, from now on we don't need to look at the royal family's face anymore. They are extremely exaggerated. I have been holding back for a long time. Others also responded. That's right. Vu Truyan Tri then spoke. Don't speak too quickly. Let me think. Another person who doesn't seem to like this idea very much is Vanda. His face darkened and he said nothing. A moment later, at a VIP pub. This place is full of rich young men who come to eat, drink and have fun with girls. Van Tri Vu is also here. He was drinking and smoking and asked. Are you telling the truth? Vanda immediately replied. I heard it with my own ears. But Vu Truyan Tri didn't have any attitude. I also couldn't guess his thoughts. It turned out that this guy Vanda was the king's insider who infiltrated the Vu family. Van Tri Vu immediately changed his attitude. He worriedly said, If the Vu family agrees to cooperate with So Min, our royal family will be really in trouble. Looking at the glass of wine in his hand, Van Tri Vu thought thoughtfully. This chess piece was not arranged in vain for the Vu family. If it weren't for him, we would have been beaten up. Vanda spoke up and asked for the next plan. Young master, what do we do now? Van Tri Vu gently put down the wine glass. He texted his father and aunt to inform him, and said, I told my father and aunt. They will consider how to deal with the Vu family. He looked at the phone and smiled cruelly. Now I'm even more curious what a girl about to get married wants to do in the middle of the night to find another man. Vanda immediately asked. What are you talking about? Van Tri Vu threw a series of photos at Vanda and said, See for yourself. These photos were taken of Vu Lam Lam and So Min the night before. Looking at these photos, Vanda was startled and exclaimed, This is Du Vu Lam Lam. Van Tri Vu stroked the cheek of the waitress sitting next to him and smiled calculatingly. That's right. Tomorrow I will put these pictures on the front page. Vanda frowned and asked. You want to ruin her reputation? But if this matter causes too much commotion, the reputation of the Vong family will also be damaged. After all, she is the person you are going to marry. Van Tri Vu laughed and said, Don't worry. Even though the woman is out of control, I, the young master of the Vong family, will still agree to marry her. Isn't the image of a rich and affectionate young master too good? He proudly continued, turning public opinion in Jiang Chao City to the side that benefits my Vong family. Like this, anyone who wants to take action against the Vong family must think carefully. Even Jiang Chao will be punished. If we turn our backs, whatever family power, whatever commercial empire will collapse. Van De frowned in admiration. This move is really skillful. That night at HSL Company, Kai Ham Swang is sitting at work. She wrote and thought, since YQ fell, the company's development path has indeed been much smoother. Business partnerships are increasing more and more. Kai Ham Swang worked diligently and extremely hard. Suddenly, her phone rang. That is the editor of Jiang Chao daily newspaper Jiang Vu. Feeling strange, Kai Ham Swang asked himself, it's so late, why is he still calling me? Remembering this Jiang Vu, Kai Ham Swang thought to himself, he and I met at a business party. After that there were also many collaborations. During the process of developing students, he gave me a lot of useful advice. We can also be considered friends. Thinking so, Kai Ham Swang immediately picked up the phone. Hello, Mr. Jiang? Why are you calling me so late? On the other end of the phone, Jiang Vu was frowning at the photo in his hand and said, Kai Ham Swang, your junior brother seems to be named So-min, right? The photo in his hand was sent by Vong Tri Vu. In the photo, Vu Lam Lam is hugging So-min. Jiang Vu quickly announced, So-min, he caused a big problem. Kai Ham Swang immediately looked surprised. How do you know I have a junior brother? Jiang Vu quickly suggested. The situation this time is very special. Let's meet and talk. It's still the same place. So Kai Ham Swang rushed to the place to meet Jiang Vu. It is a cafe located in a large building. As soon as they met, Jiang Vu immediately brought out So-min's photos and said, You should look at these first. Kai Ham Swang picked up the photo and was startled. Isn't this So-min and Vu Lam Lam? Why do you have these photos? Jiang Vu immediately reminded. Surely you know that the Du family and the Vong family are about to get married, right? At such an important time, if someone else took pictures of this scene, you will be in big trouble. There, Jiang Vu also asked. Besides, do you know who sent it to me? Kai Ham Swang immediately asked. Who? Jiang Vu frowned and replied. You are under the command of young Master Vong. Kai Ham Swang pointed at the photos and asked. What do you mean the Vong family wants to use these photos to harm my junior brother? Jiang Vu nodded. To be more precise, it's your junior brother and the Du family. Kai Ham Swang looked at the photo and worried. This absolutely cannot happen. Jiang Vu agreed. Of course I know. This is not the first time I have informed you, right? But the Vong family will definitely not give up. Even if we don't give it this time, they will find someone else. What do you think? Kai Ham Swang looked intently at the photo and said, Let me figure it out. Then she suddenly had an idea. Kai Ham Swang immediately stood up and said, I'll go back and get some things. Let's meet here tomorrow. The next day, Kai Ham Swang stood waiting for So-min, who was searching for something in the car that crashed the day before. He was happy when he found what he was looking for and shouted. Found it! Holding it in his hand, So-min turned around and asked Kai Ham Swang. Senior Sister 7, is this the driving recorder you are talking about? Kai Ham Swang happily received it and said, Exactly. I didn't expect the car to crash and not even have a scratch, she happily told So-min. With this, everything will be much easier. So-min looked puzzled. What is this thing for? Kai Ham Swang immediately explained to his younger brother. It itself is useless, the important thing is the video inside. As she spoke, she thought to herself. Since the royal family wants to start a war of public opinion, I will let them bear the consequences. That night at the coffee shop yesterday, Kai Ham Swang walked over and saw Jiang Vu already there waiting. Seeing Kai Ham Swang coming, Jiang Vu immediately asked. You're here. What are you looking for? Kai Ham Swang immediately took out a memory card and said. There is a video in here that is evidence of the Vong family's Kim Daon-man pursuing me and my junior brother and senior sister, she advised Jiang Vu. It may be a bit messy, but it can be used if you cut and edit a little. Hearing that, Jiang Vu was startled and angrily asked. What? Did the prince directly attack you guys? Kai Ham Swang nodded reassuringly. Yes. But they failed and we beat them back. Jiang Vu then made up his mind. He affirmed. Okay, leave the rest to me. Surely the royal family's crimes will be brought to light. Kai Ham Swang happily smiled and replied. Thank you very much this time. If it weren't for you, my junior brother would definitely fall into the Wang family's plot. Jiang Vu smiled friendly and replied. It's not being polite. During that party, our Jiang Chao daily newspaper was planning to stop publishing. It's thanks to you proactively putting HSL Company's advertising in the newspaper. Me then give us another chance. Kai Ham Swang smiled and said. Looking back now, it seems like I made the right decision. I certainly didn't look at the wrong person. She then sternly reminded Jiang Vu, however, to ensure safety, it should not be published in your Jiang Chao daily. Must use other channels. Jiang Vu nodded. Don't worry. I've been in the media for so long, I still have some connections. The next morning, Vong Tri Vu was sleeping soundly next to a certain girl. He woke up and reached for the phone. He was about to check the new news and secretly rejoiced. This time, Vu Lam Lam and So-min would definitely be defeated. However, when he checked the latest hot news, he was surprised to find nothing. Sitting up, he exclaimed in surprise. Why isn't it there? Did Jiang Chao daily ignore such big news? Suddenly, a strange number called. Vang Tri-Vu immediately answered the call and asked, "Who is it?" On the other end of the phone, a curse rang out. "Your royal family is a group of scum, corrupt society, scum," Vang Tri-Vu quickly asked. "Who are you?" However, the other end of the line hung up. The phone vibrated again, signaling an incoming call. Vang Tri-Vu still finds it difficult to understand what this is all about. He picked up the phone to hear who was calling. However, before he could ask, he was cursed again. "Animals! What is the royal family? What I see is a group of gangsters," Vang Tri-Vu angrily shouted back. "What's the point? What is this situation?" However, the other end of the line hung up. Soon after, another phone call came. This time, Vang Tri-Vu angrily shouted first. "Who the hell are you? You're still speaking vaguely. Do you believe I killed you?" But the other end of the line turned out to be Vang Tru Quan. He shouted, "Shut up! I am your father." Vang Tri-Vu was startled and exclaimed, "Dad! Why Dad?" Vang Tru Quan said nothing but stared intently at the TV. The voice of Kim Dao Man was heard on the TV. "It was the king who sent me. This time you will surely die." The TV screen is showing the scene of the leader of Kim Dao Man being defeated by So Min. At this point, Vang Tru Quan got angry and shouted into the phone, "Go online and watch it now. The video of us sending people to kill So Min already made everyone angry." So Vang Tri-Vu immediately went online to check, and the videos had indeed spread rapidly. The internet is full of uncensored videos with sharp HD and vivid sound. Offending the royal family. Today is your death anniversary. In Jiang Chao, the royal family is heaven. Vang Tri-Vu was extremely confused and asked himself, why? How can this be? The woman sleeping with him woke up and asked, "Young Master Vang, what's wrong?" In anger, he turned around and slapped the other woman and chased her away. "Go away." Vang Tri-Vu pulled the towel to cover the dangerous area and got out of bed and announced, "I have to go back to the Vang family quickly. I have to go back there quickly." Meanwhile, at Kai Ham Swang's house, So Min, Kai Ham Swang, Nam Lin and Tan Yen were sitting and enjoying tea together. Tan Yen looked intently at the phone and looked excited. Next, the Vang family can be famous. Kai Ham Swang also expressed admiration for Jiang Vu's editing team. It cannot be said that the skill of cutting and assembling these short videos is also very good. Nam Lin was eating dumplings while looking at the phone and chiming in. "Add fuel to the fire, guide emotions very well." Only now did So Min realize Seventh Sister's previous intentions. He praised her, so the purpose of looking for the dash chem yesterday was because of this. "Seventh Sister, this move is great." Kai Ham Swang immediately smiled and replied, "It's not you. It's a friend helping you." She was looking at her phone and saw Jiang Vu's new message notification. "Can we have dinner together tonight?" Right now there is a lot of commotion outside. Everyone attentively reads news about the royal family. A few people watched while working and angrily exclaimed, "This prince is too exaggerated. In broad daylight, he dares to carry a knife and assault others. It turns out that Jiang Chao also has this kind of dark force." A few other people also responded. Luckily the boy in the video was not bad, otherwise they would have been in danger. Some others said, "Counterattacking is really liberating." To explain, this is just self-defense. While all the spearheads were pointing towards the Vang family's house, it was at the Vu family's mansion. Old Master Vu watched the news and stroked his beard with satisfaction. This time, in addition to his rotten reputation, the Vang family will probably have to spend a lot of money to suppress this matter. Vu Truyen-Tri was smoking in silence. It was exactly as predicted by Vu Lao Jia. The video he watched has been taken down. He suddenly exclaimed. The king acted quickly. Vu Lao Jia stroked his beard with satisfaction. He asked his eldest son, "Twin Tri, how do you feel?" Truyen-Tri put out the cigarette in his hand and laughed loudly. "Haha, that's interesting." He stood up and said to Vu Lao Jia, "Just like that, our thoughts can change." Vu Lao Jia immediately stroked his beard and asked, "You mean you won't let Vu Lam Lam marry anymore?" Truyen-Tri shook his head and said, "Of course you have to get married. But if you want to overthrow the royal family, the wedding must be the best. Furthermore, on that day all the forces related to the royal family will be there. But like that's the only way to really fight." Vu Lao Jia stroked his beard and smiled and asked, "You finally want to choose a side to stand on this time?" Vu Truyen-Tri coldly replied, "I just want to see how much this So Min can do." Meanwhile, at the prince's large mansion, a shrill scream rang out. "Is this what you're talking about, inciting public opinion?" Vang Tru Quan pointed his finger at his son and shouted, "This is the way you said you would make the Vu family and So Min lose their reputation?" Vang Tri-Vu loudly explained, "Dad, I don't know what's going on. I've clearly sent someone to deliver the things to the editor of Jiangzhou Daily." Upon hearing this, Vang Chiu Quan loudly affirmed, "I know. It's Jiangzhou Daily that has an insider." He frowned angrily and ordered, "Kill him. I want him to die." So that night at Jiangzhou Daily headquarters, Jiang Vu had just finished working, so he went out, intending to go to his appointment with Kai Ham Swang. A group of thugs with swords in hand had been waiting for him. Everyone's face was filled with murderous intent. Jiang Vu's face turned pale and he was sweating. He thought that these people definitely had no good intentions. Seeing Jiang Vu, someone loudly ordered, "It's him. Come up!" The thugs listened to the order and shouted to each other, "Kill him to death for me." At this time, So Min and the others did not know anything. Both So Min and Nam Lin were on Kai Ham Swang's car to the dinner appointment with Jiang Vu. In the car, So Min wondered, "Senior Sister 7, Mr. Jiang invited you to dinner. Is it reasonable for us to go with so many people?" Kai Ham Swang immediately replied, "Is there anything unreasonable? We are good friends." Nam Lin immediately turned around and reminded, "Sister, I'm a good friend. Maybe he wants to pursue you." Kai Ham Swang immediately smiled and replied, "Senior Sister Luke has thought a lot. There is also pure friendship between men and women. Isn't that right between us and So Min?" Hearing that, So Min immediately spoke, "We're not friends, you two are my sisters." He didn't know that Nam Lin didn't think so in his heart. She doesn't want to just be friends with So Min. Kai Ham Swang's car then parked in front of Jiang Chao Daily newspaper. When he got out of the car and didn't see anyone, Kai Ham Swang looked puzzled. Strange. He should have finished work at this time. Why haven't I seen anyone yet? Suddenly there was a large stain of blood right next to the briefcase that fell on the ground. So Min was the first person to see it. He exclaimed, "Is this a blood stain?" He quickly ran away and exclaimed, "Not good." Kai Ham Swang did not understand what was going on and quickly shouted, "So Min, what's going on?" So Min quickly ran after the trail and said, "Mr. Jiang is in danger." At this time, somewhere else, Jiang Vu was being seriously injured by thugs. They threatened, "Let's see if you dare to cause trouble in the future." Another guy immediately spoke up, "Get away! I'm coming to finish him off." But So Min quickly appeared behind. His eyes widened in panic when he saw the scene before him. In front, a thug is raising his knife to finish off Jiang Vu. Without delay, So Min jumped in and gave him a knee right in the face. He lay down on the floor immediately. Another guy immediately shouted, "Who dares to attack our brothers? Hit him!" So Min frowned and glanced over at them. As for Jiang Vu, his body is trembling right now. He injured his hand quite seriously, bleeding profusely. The group of thugs had not yet recognized So Min and immediately rushed towards him, using force to bully the weak. However, they did not know that So Min's needles were quickly launched towards them. The needles precisely penetrate their weak points, paralyzing their entire body. Their bodies trembled, unable to move even a little. Only then did So Min run back to help Jiang Vu up and asked, "How are you?" Jiang Vu weakly opened his eyes and asked, "Who are you?" At this time, Kai Ham Swang and Nam Lin also ran there. Seeing Jiang Vu like that, Kai Ham Swang panicked and called out, "Jiang Vu!" Seeing Kai Ham Swang, Jiang Vu smiled slightly and friendly. "Kai Ham Swang, is that everyone?" Kai Ham Swang quickly asked his junior brother, "How is he?" So Min took out a few needles and stabbed them into Jiang Vu's body. He said, "Although there were many skin wounds, there was only one knife wound that grazed the internal organs. Still lucky." But then he added, "Conditions here are limited. Only a little emergency treatment can be done." So Min then stood up and reminded, "Everyone take Mr. Jiang to the hospital first." Kai Ham Swang was curious. "So what about you?" So Min turned back to look at the group of thugs and said, "I have to interact with these kids a bit." The thugs saw this and immediately confessed in fear. "Grandfather, don't come here. We'll tell you everything." After Kai Ham Swang and Nam Lin called an ambulance to take Jiang Vu to the hospital, So Min began questioning the thugs. He read the information on the phone and questioned them. "Who sent you here?" A name immediately came out, Vang Tri Vu, third young master of the Vang family. Hearing that, So Min thought to himself, "Is it the Vang family again?" After that, he continued to ask, "So why does he want to kill Mr. Jiang?" Another guy immediately declared, "We previously put some documents in Jiang Chao Daily to let him write propaganda articles, but he did not listen. Moreover, he also encouraged many other media companies to post videos that affected the reputation of the royal family." So Min immediately said, "That's why he sent you to kill Mr. Jiang?" The thugs bowed their heads and confirmed, "That's right." So Min asked the final question. "Last question, where is Vang Tri Vu now?" One guy immediately declared, "At Hong Hai Bar." Seeing that they were sincere in their confession, So Min immediately said, "In honor of you, answer me honestly." He turned his head to look at the other paralyzed men and continued, "I spare your lives." After questioning them, So Min returned to meet the two sisters. Kai Ham Swang immediately announced, the ambulance had taken Jiang Vu away. "Sister Luke and I went to the hospital to see how the situation was." So Min immediately nodded and replied, "Everyone take good care of Mr. Jiang. Let me handle the other matters." So Min then watched Kai Ham Swang's car leave. After that, he turned around and expressed determination. "This matter is because of me. Mr. Jiang cannot be injured in vain like that. We must teach Vang Tri Vu a lesson." So Min immediately ran to Hong Hai Bar. This is a large building that is quite noisy because there are many people practicing to be singers here. So-min slowly walked in and said to himself, "This place is too noisy." Looking at the people going in and out of the bar, So-min thought to himself, people who stay in this situation for a long time, their mood is like fire, uncertain, very likely to have a stroke. Suddenly a young man who looked like a security guard stepped forward to stop So-min. "Hey brother. This place is not a place where a poor person can enter." He then smiled smugly. "This place is the place of beauty and money." So-min immediately looked puzzled. "What is beauty?" The security guard immediately looked disdainful and replied, "That is, women must be beautiful, men must have money." Countryside. So-min doesn't care. He told him, "I don't understand those silly rules. Get out of the way. I'm going to find Vong Tri-Vu." Hearing the young master's name Vong, the guard's face immediately changed. He happily invited. It turns out to be young Master Vong's friend. "Please come in quickly." So-min went deep into the bar. This place is really super noisy with people who can't sing but just like to sing. So-min looked around and suddenly heard a voice. "Thank you for the reward, Mr. Vong. Let's open the wine for Mr. Vong. Have fun." So-min looked in the direction of the voice and saw Vong Tri-Vu comfortably sitting there drinking wine and looking at beautiful girls. He did not notice So-min's presence but happily thought, "That boy Zhang Vu dared to ruin my good deeds. He must have been reincarnated by now." Thinking so, he excitedly raised his glass. Suddenly his face turned pale when he realized someone was standing behind him. Looking at the reflection in the glass, he saw So-min standing right behind him. Startled, he turned around and said, "What?" However, before he could finish speaking, So-min immediately gave him a slap on the ear. The female servants saw this and quickly shouted, "Ah, you beat someone!" So the large security guards immediately ran in and shouted, "Who is causing trouble inside? Don't you need your life anymore?" So-min gently applied his energy, radiating a bit of his true energy out and coldly shouted, "Get out!" The security guards saw such strong true energy and said to each other, "Is that brat a master? It's so scary. I don't know why I feel a bit scared in my heart." Vong Tri-Vu now crawled up and looked up at So-min. So-min coldly said, "Vong Tri-Vu, first time meeting. I'm sorry, I couldn't control the 6 paths just now." Vong Tri-Vu's face was swollen and he shouted, "You know I am Vong Tri-Vu and still dare to fight?" So-min frowned, emitted a terrifying murderous aura and said, "Don't worry, I will hit you until you die next time." So-min then lifted him up and said, "Royal scum, this Vong Tri-Vu is indeed quite a reckless person." Even though he was overwhelmed, he still raised his hand to punch So-min in the face and shouted, "So-min, others are afraid of you but not me." So-min gently blocked his weak punch and said, "Inferior talent." He then gave him another punch, causing him to fall backwards. He sat up but still barked loudly, "You dare?" But before he finished speaking, So-min threw a needle into his right hand. Vong Tri-Vu screamed in pain. On this side, the original security guard was calling the Vong family and announced, "Hey, quickly contact your landlord. Your young master is about to be beaten to death in our bar." On this side, So-min continued to wave his hand. Vong Tri-Vu still shouted loudly, "If you dare to touch me, my father will not forgive you." But So-min was not afraid. He gave him another slap on the left cheek to stop the deviation and said, "This slap is to help your father teach you how to be human." He slapped his left cheek again and continued, "This slap is on behalf of Vu Lam Lam who was forced to marry you royal family." So-min raised his hand to continue hitting and said, "This slap is for Mr. Zhang, who was hospitalized by you guys." Having finished speaking, So-min gave him another slap. Vong Tri-Vu's face was now swollen. Only then did he realize he was afraid and begged, "Don't fight anymore, I was wrong, please forgive me. Please." So-min looked at him pleadingly and thought, this level is enough. Now that he kills him, the Vong family will most likely play a game of arbitrage and withdrawal. Thinking that, So-min stood up and stopped fighting. The people who had been observing hastily moved away. So-min slowly stepped out and reminded, "No need to be afraid. It has nothing to do with you guys. Remember to tell the owner of the Vong family that the person who beat you is So-min." A moment later, the royal family's group arrived. Vong Tru Quan saw his son lying unconscious on the ground and shouted loudly, "Who did it?" A scared waiter was pushed away. He gave a friendly smile